All right, I want to talk about undertones. I want to talk about the truth about undertones because it's incredibly difficult. I understand that. I've talked about this a lot, and hopefully today we can get you somewhere. For reference, if you don't know, and I know it's become like a total meme, I am very fair-skinned. I have a warm olive undertone, okay? So my skin tends to look kind of like a yellowy green. Now this was something that took me a very long time to determine. I could see the yellow in my skin for a long time, and so I would end up going for like very yellow foundations, because let's face it, there hasn't been like the most amazing shade range in past years. It took me a very long time to realize that I was olive skinned, but not all olive skin is warm. That's something that you have to take into account. In preparation for this video, I was kind of like looking up like how other people determine olive skin. And a lot of it is like, if you look really good in cool tones, jewel tones, if your veins aren't necessarily like exactly green, you look good in gold and silver jewelry. So it can be very ambiguous. Now I'm using olive as an example because it's really hard to pinpoint, versus like a cool tone, someone who has more pink skin or blue undertones or like a little bit more neutral. And let's face it, most foundation either runs like really orange or like really pink or ridiculously yellow, right? So I'm gonna share some tips with you that will hopefully help you to determine what your undertone is that actually like work. The first one being, compare your skin to your friends. Whip out your arm, put it next to your friend's arms. It makes it a lot easier to see what colors are going to pop next to other people. So I've used this example before, but I have a friend who's incredibly pink, like super pink skin. She's also very fair. She's a blue undertone. When I put my arm next to her, it's straight up like yellow green. So easy to see. Something to keep in mind is complementary colors. If you take a look at the color wheel, colors opposite each other on the color wheel are complementary colors. If you put them next to each other, they make each other stand out like crazy. So for instance, red and green are complementary colors. They're opposites on the color wheel. You put them next to each other and they pop. Christmas. Actually seeing skin tone, actually seeing your undertone, it's very difficult. People have like different ways of looking. Think about all the artists in the world. They see things differently. That's why Van Gogh painted a certain way. That's why John Singer Sargent painted a certain way. They see the world differently. It's impossible for me to just tell you something and have you see the world differently. So seeing undertone, seeing your skin tone is going to be incredibly difficult for you. I can't just like give you this formula and then you're just going to be able to like see it. The best advice that I can give you when you're trying to find a foundation, a concealer, basically anything that's going to match you, go into a Sephora, go into an Ulta, like Nordstrom, whatever, somewhere where you can swatch products, okay? If you're starting at like base level, you have absolutely no idea what your undertone is, go in, swatch a bunch of things that look like they're close, okay? Let them set, let them oxidize, go out into natural sunlight and find the ones that match the best. Then what you can do is check out how they are labeling those products. Now, brands aren't always spot on, but if you find that the majority of the products that you are swatching that match you the best, are described as warm, yellow toned, olive toned, then you might be like me. You might be a light, fair olive, warm olive. That is going to bring you some steps closer to determining what your undertone is. And then from there, you can kind of decide like, okay, I'm a warmer tone, which means that like warmer eyeshadows are probably going to look better on me. If you find that like cool toned gray colors just wash you out, or cool toned like purples, really cool tone like gray purples wash you out, then you're probably a little bit more on the warm side. That's going to help you determine that like, okay, lilac blush probably isn't going to be best for you, but peach blush probably would because it's a warmer tone. The color wheel is incredibly helpful and important. My last tip for you would be once you determine the colors that work best for you. For instance, if you're like me and foundations tend to look a little too orange or a little bit too pink, then you want to think in terms of the color wheel. How can I tone down the colors in those foundations? Now, I know that I'm more olive, right? So the product that I like to use is the Makeup Forever Redness Corrector. They have these correctors in like every color, like blue, I want to say blue, pink, yellow. I have the yellow one too, green. And what you can use this for is mixing it with your foundation. So if you have a foundation that's a little bit too pink for you, but you're a little bit more olive, or maybe it's just like, maybe it's labeled neutral, but it just looks straight up like pink or orange on you, then you can tone down that red by mixing in this green color corrector. This is incredibly handy to have. Think about the opposites on the color wheel. If you're someone who is much more cool toned and like if you have pink skin and your foundation ends up looking just like very warm on you, then you might want to pick up, let me think about that. You might want to pick up, ooh, if you're pink and your foundation looks orange or too warm, you might want to pick up a blue or a lavender, because you might want to be toning down the yellow in that foundation. You kind of have to play with it. You might want to pick up a couple. I have the green one and I have the yellow one because I find that sometimes when I mix the green, it neutralizes it a little bit too much and it kind of removes the life from it. So I'll kind of warm it up again by adding a tiny bit of the yellow. Does that make sense? This is literally paint mixing, you guys. It's complicated. It is not the easiest thing in the entire world. But once again, if you are trying to find a foundation, a concealer, something that's going to match your skin tone, go in, swatch, let it sit, let it oxidize, go outside into natural light and see what fits you best. The place that you want to swatch is going to be the place that represents the overall color of your body. For instance, if your face is incredibly light, but the rest of you is like tan, you probably don't want to match your foundation to your face because it's going to make you look really light up there, right? So if your arm represents the majority of the color of your body, do the swatches there, so that you can kind of like even things out. Does that make sense? If your face is really, really light and like your chest is like kind of medium, but your arms and your hands are really dark, try to go for that medium, like try to go somewhere in the middle. I have an idea for a video about how to make the wrong undertone work for certain products. If you'd like to see that, let me know in the comments down below. It's a tough subject, you guys. I know, but we're gonna get through it, okay? Bye. I'm gonna pick you up and show you to the people. Why? Stop making so much noise. Tim, I stabbed myself with a piece of ice.
I love you.
No, like
You'll
I
be
actually
fine.
stabbed.
You'll be fine.
Like the the ice cubes didn't finish being solid.
Right, the splinter will melt.
It'll
and
melt,
you'll be
but
fine.
I'm just saying that like it happened and it was a weird feeling.
I know, I love you.
Okay, bye.
Flower.
I hate you.